Retro Crow Andy goes old school, revealing the Crow family's pigeon shooting secrets as he passes them down to the next generation.
Over 50 years ago I was making them with him. They ain't been out 50 years, so really they copied my granddad.
Solving Father's Day dilemmas. Firstly, gift the old man a Fieldsports Nation membership. Do it now and you'll have a chance of getting your mitts on a Spartan bipod. Secondly, we've got cheap hearing protection. Plus, Rainbow Nation. Tom Davies and Ollie Williams look at how to identify animals with thermal. We have news, we have hunting YouTube. Welcome to Fieldsports Britain. Andy's been shooting pigeons for a long time. It all started with his grandfather and uncle. Now he's got the chance to pass down some of those old school techniques to his grandson Regan. Most of the fieldcraft is as relevant now as it was more than 50 years ago. Some tips have been lost or forgotten, so we've decided to weave in some nostalgia with the woody pest control of the moment. Today it's about decoys.
It's a tough bit of dirt here. The peas haven't come so well, they never will. It's only just a little strip about, I don't know, 30 yards long and about 40 yards wide. You can just see it where you can just see the clay in there. Peas aren't too bad here. Usually I sit down further, but the peas are a lot longer there. So today I'm going to try and decoy them up into this big clump of trees here. And all it is with the decoys we just made this morning and painted, just to see how they work, just going back to old school really. We have bought a flapper, but give that a go, but I'm just going to go old school and just put one pigeon out there with its wings out and put these new decoys that me and Regan have messed about and painted this morning.
Right, Crowy, take me back in time. What's going on here?
In days of old, before I was given different decoys to try out and test and whatever, Grandad and my uncle, we weren't rich people. Well, no farmers are rich, are they? Not funny, David.
So, carry on.
Just so I got a new combine in the shed and a new 2 Fendt tractors and a new truck.
Yeah.
Farmers
Okay, we'll ignore those.
Yeah, we'll move on. Right, yeah, so we used to make our own decoys. When I was like Regan's age, pigeons were a lot easier to decoy then. There weren't so many people, they weren't under so much pressure. So yeah, so you could, providing there was something grey out there with a bit of white around its neck and it resembled a pigeon, it worked. And then Grandad used to make them out of old bits of drain pipe, and that's what I'm doing here. He used to get a marker pen, mark round it like this, all the way round, just to get the rough shape really.
Wow.
Just to get the rough shape. But in the olden days, we never used to have a skill saw. So
how long did it take you?
I got in there the other day when, well, we decided to do this quite a while ago, but I got in there the other day and I got the hacksaw out and I looked at that and I thought, like the olden days, hacksaw blade without a frame because you can't get all the way round.
Oh my goodness.
Yep, so anyway, I thought, I know I've got a jigsaw somewhere, I know I have. And I found that, and that was a saving. There might be a bit of editing involved with this, because I ain't very good with a skill saw. I can drive a tractor, but I'm not very good with it. Hang on.
Hey.
Now we've got another one of them, well sort of. Another one of them, see?
Cool.
That bit's discarded. Then, we used to put it on, we used to heat them up on a fire.
No.
Yeah, we used to heat them up on a fire. Regan, if you go away a bit, mate, because this smoke's going to smell a bit. So, get that bit first.
Yeah, so you just crease it there, okay.
Yeah. It's not the best of days, it's quite hot today, so. Might probably move out onto the concrete. Be easier, sorry Dave. There's your tail.
Fantastic. So what do you reckon it is, the cost for one of these then to make it? How much is a pipe?
Used to find them on the side of the road. We just used to pick them up. My granddad never used to pay for anything. He's a clever man, he's a bit like me. That's where I got it from.
You found it on the side of the road?
What? Oh no. You do a line along there. Put the crease in there.
Ah, very good.
It's not easy today because usually you lay it on the concrete, it's cold, but it is a bit warm today.
It's all about sort of, I always hear about plimsolls and bits
Oh,
of Wellington and
Christ.
stuff. Did you use that as well?
Oh Christ, Granddad used he'd use anything. He used to have Eagle wellies, useless. I think.
What for what? As in a decoy or a welly?
Oh, as a welly. He couldn't stand up in the sole was oval, so he always used to fall over in them, but he loved them. He loved them. But they were rubbish. I can remember when I got a pair, I thought, Christ, why does he wear these?
But do they make good decoys?
Yeah, he did. Oh. I'm struggling a bit because the concrete's like I said just now, it's so warm. There you go. Got one of them now.
Brilliant.
And me personally, I don't think it's much different to that.
Well, you know,
Granddad,
I'm waiting for the paint job.
Granddad was making them 70 years ago, 60, 70 years ago. I'm not 70, but he was making them before me. Over 50 years ago, I was making them with him. They ain't been out 50 years. So really, they copied my granddad.
Yeah. Imagine if you got £1 for every single one of them.
Oh yeah, I've got those in there. And this is, hang on. And there's one I made earlier. I know everyone's going to say, yeah, the paint's shining, but it's the only paint I had. It's.
Would you normally have used matte then?
Yeah, it was matte. Well, it should be matte, and I couldn't find any the other day. I went to 2 different builders merchants to try and find some when we decided we was going to do it this weekend, and I couldn't find anywhere. But it's not gloss, but it do the job. Well, we're going to go and try it in a minute and see if they work.
Brilliant. So is Regan going to paint it for you then?
He's going to be on it in a minute. I've got another bit to do to that. Stay there, David. I will be back.
What do you think, Regan?
Good.
Yeah? You looking forward to painting one? Yeah. More power tools.
More power tools. In the olden days, my uncle was a farrier and blacksmith, so he used to use rasps. This is a modern day rasp. Mind out, Regan, mind your eyes, mate. Go and stand over there, please. Good boy.
So is that something for the paint to cling on to, or
That's
is that
it.
just give texture?
It's made it rough now, the paint will stick to it. And if anyone watches this and thinks, oh, I'm going to have a go at that, if you do, for Christ's sake, wear the goggles, because this stuff comes off, it's so fine. And it gets in your eyes, and that's the reason I've got my glasses on. But there you go, it don't look much, it don't look nothing special.
The biggest pigeon I've seen in my life.
It's the biggest pigeon you've ever seen, is it, mate?
Yes.
It don't look much, but I guarantee, never work with children and dogs. He's a good lad, it is massive, mate. It's bigger than you, nearly.
Oh yeah.
That isn't one you made earlier, mind you, is it?
No, that one isn't. But no, it don't look a lot. But all they're looking for is...
There's another one for you to make.
yeah, there you go. That's what it starts out like.
Let's see the finished article.
There you go.
There we go. And the 12.
All they're looking for is that and the grey out there. That's all they're looking for.
Well done, Regan.
This to that,
To that. To that.
That's it.
Bob on.
Shall we mix up a bit of paint so you can have a go at painting?
Yeah.
Come on, Ellis. You stay there then. Not much difference in the colour, a little bit.
But that's all you need is the rainbow on the neck.
I haven't got the rainbow. But like I said, every time all you got to do is take 10 or a dozen of that, or half a dozen of these.
You could use that rainbow.
You could,
You
mate.
need
You could.
green
But once you've got half a dozen of these,
purple.
that's what it's all about. Just drawing them close enough to get half a dozen real ones, and you're away then. So, right, Regan, you going to do some painting?
Yes.
Right, paint all of that colour.
And for those people looking for that colour, is it pigeon grey? I mean, what are we looking for?
That's not pigeon grey. It's just a grey that I found. It's about as close as you can get.
So do I need to paint everything?
It is. I ain't got my glasses on.
Oh,
It's grey.
let me turn it around to me so I can film it. What is it? Hold on, that's too close. It is. Is it gallant grey? Gallant grey, I think.
Yeah, it is. I can see that now.
Also known as
Pigeon grey. It's not quite the right
Grey.
colour, but time we finished,
Do I paint all this whole thing?
the whole of that colour. Here we.
Oh, it's
Hey,
very large.
there's no flies on this, boy. Why drive a little machine when you can drive a big machine? No, not that one.
I like this one.
Use this one. Come on. Right, just paint it all. That's it.
Tail first.
All of it. Just paint all of it. That's it.
See, I can see how you can increase production here, Craig.
I can. Give it another couple of. He's been waiting every night this week when he comes home from school. He's been messaging me. When can I come and paint the decoys, Grandad? When can I come
And
paint
you
the decoys?
say another
Tomorrow.
day.
Oh no! All
You
right,
say
all right.
tomorrow.
I know. Okay.
No, not tomorrow. Another day.
It's just like his mum.
Emotional blackmail.
It is. You're doing a lovely job there, mate. Right. There we go. So all his head.
So
And-
do I paint this colour?
Yeah, that colour out of there. Okay.
Okay.
Don't go mad with it because there's not a lot in there. And that one's to go on his head and all the way round that line, okay? Okay, put it in gently. Otherwise it'll get scratched, and that's how they get scratched. I can remember Grandad kept making all these decoys and I thought, I'll get some flexi coys. They were the in thing at the time. Everyone was raving on about them. And as soon as I got them out of the bag, he said, well, they're no good, boy. He goes and gets a tin of white paint and starts painting them straight away. And I said, Grandad, I've only just bought them, I haven't even used them.
Time we'll see if those decoys work and hear more about the time when Mr. Crow had a fro.
Here we go. Come on, you bastard. Regan, hang on. Grandad's going to try and miss a pigeon. Do you hear my grandson? Grandad, did you get two? Yes, I did, Regan.
Did you get two?
Yeah.
Thank you, Andy and Regan. Now, back in my magazine editing days, gosh, paper, weird, we created a centre spread decoy cutout, and we've done the same for you in our free weekly email newsletter, which you can sign up to on our website, fieldsportschannel.tv. So get your scissors and your paints out and start decoying, but in a light wind. Now, while Andy was talking all things old, he also explained to David why he uses the very new bits of Jack Pike kit he's supplied with. So, if you want to know how many pigeons the Jack Pike decoy bag holds, follow the link on the screen where we've put that film on our sister channel, Field Tester. Right, from teach to school caretaker, it's David on the Fieldsports Channel News Stump.
This is Fieldsports Channel News. A pair of rabbit shooters found themselves surrounded by 10 armed police officers and a helicopter. Pete Butler sneaked one picture of them and wants to stress what a great bunch of guys they were. After a call from a concerned couple, Staffordshire Police told Pete he was shooting illegally. He said he'd show them his permission letter, but they drove off. The officers advised Pete in future to call 101 and advise local area police where he plans to go shooting. The Game Fair team has confirmed the event is to go ahead as planned. The event takes place between Friday the 23rd of July and Sunday the 25th of July at Bragley Hall in Warwickshire. Events such as game fairs, agricultural flower and garden shows were sanctioned as part of the government's Phase 2 relaxations announced on the 12th of April 2021. Although some have already had to postpone for a second year. If you're planning to go to the game fair, Charlie will, as usual, be running the Carter Jonas Game Fair Theatre. Wildlife manager Ron Thompson has gone public about his interview with chat show host Piers Morgan.
I was called all sorts of things, but he's just, excuse my language, he's just a total asshole.
Thompson says Morgan buggered up a chance to explain elephant management. On Good Morning Britain, he slammed elephant hunter Ron Thompson for not showing enough emotion while on the job. Thompson lashed out at Morgan's interview style. Evidence is mounting against a zoo which falsely claimed it was saving tigers from cruelty. The BBC's Chris Packham is a trustee of the Wild Heart Trust, which started a lockdown crowdfunder to help finance tigers it keeps at a zoo in the Isle of Wight. The adverts claimed their tigers had earlier been mistreated and abused at a circus. The circus denies this, and a veterinary report says the tigers were fine. Now, one of the tigers has died of old age, and Wild Heart has repeated its assertion that the animal suffered appalling treatment in his previous life, and its mission to rescue more animals from a life of misery. Meanwhile, Packham is running an ad criticising MPs. Ahead of next Monday's grouse shooting debate in Parliament, the online advert, paid for by Chris Packham, asks, do you trust them to save our wildlife? DEFRA says one of the new agricultural pests to make it in the UK is the raccoon dog. The dog-sized raccoon-like animal is on a list of 20 invasive species likely to reach UK shores and destroy wildlife. The species has already spread from Russia into continental Europe. The animals have been kept in Britain as exotic pets, but since 2009 it's been illegal to buy or sell them. Last year a wild raccoon dog was captured and killed in Wales, and another has been spotted in Lincolnshire. With hay and silage cuts well underway across Europe, a German hunter has set up a Rescue a Kid group. Michael Summers' Venshen Kit Rescue Team walks ahead of grass cutters to spot wildlife hiding out in fields. During its last outing, it rescued 9 roe kids and a leveret. Usually, the advice to members of the public is to leave young animals alone, but these ones have no chance against the mower, so Michael uses his experience as a deer stalker to move them to safety. Accusations are flying about a bear hunt in Swedish Lapland. The Swedish government allows the Sami people to hunt bears to protect reindeer calves. Now police are investigating a hunt from 2019, which may have been illegal because locals on snowmobiles chased a bear. Police have released photos showing snowmobile and bear tracks and have seized herders' rifles. Meanwhile, the herders say they are victims of a media sting operation. Thanks to Per Helmseth for the story. The Hunting Federation of Malta has a new president. And it's our man in Malta, Lukas Mikulev, who's taking up the role. A staunch defender of Malta's spring hunt targeted by birds' rights activists so they could say they'd got hunting banned in an EU member state, Lukas's role also covers finch trapping on the islands. This week, the Maltese government told the European Commission that it will defend finch trapping despite efforts in Brussels to ban it. Mark Zuckerberg loves his hunting. The 37-year-old Facebook boss is seen here heading into the hills surrounding his home in Hawaii after feral hogs. He has said in the past that the only meat he eats is killed by him. He told a Facebook user last year about his enthusiasm for bow hunting. Fancy winning a prize for catching the biggest snake? Florida's Governor, Ron DeSantis, has announced a Burmese python hunt contest for July. Python hunters who catch the most snakes win $2,500. The prize for getting the longest is $1,500. The pythons have been eating native mammals and birds in the Everglades, and it's estimated there are now up to 300,000 of them. A fire ecologist from California says ticks thrive where there's no muirburn. Emily Dolhansky says that early Native Americans would burn areas partly to reduce tick burden. Now, in the absence of fire, the land is undergoing a process called mesification, which encourages ticks. With more vegetation, such as tall grasses, unburnt land becomes a better breeding ground for ticks. And finally, Black Lives Matter has reached the usually pale and male world of birdwatching. Karina Newsom, a black ornithologist from Georgia, USA, has raised the issue of the number of birds named after people who supported slavery. She points to Bachman's sparrow and Wallace's fruit dove. Then there's John James Audubon, who mocked abolitionists working to free black people. he may see his name dropped from an oriole, a warbler, a shearwater, and even the National Audubon Society. You are now up to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stalking the stories, fishing for facts.
Thank you, David. Now, before we head out on safari, let's hear from Peltor. Hear from Peltor. Get it? So, have you got Father's Day sorted? If not, then we have the answer. Gift him a Fieldsports Nation membership for just £1 a week. It's the gift that keeps on giving. A goodie box, our behind-the-scenes weekly show, Fieldsports Extra, and the support we need to show the wider world we are the true conservationists. Oh yes, and you get the chance to win stuff like this Spartan bipod. Priced at £129.99, the Javelin Light bipod comes in 3 lengths, so you can shoot on the range or hunt in demanding environments. It's made of high-grade carbon fibre, weighs around 130 grams, which is about half a block of butter, and does not compromise the balance of your rifle. It attaches and detaches quickly using Spartan's magnetic attachment system. For more, visit raytradeuk.co.uk. And we have got one to give away on Fieldsports Extra. Find out how to watch Fieldsports Extra in the description below. Now let's take the weight off and go deer stalking and fox shooting with Ollie Williams and Tom Davies. If you are doing a lot of this, it's a surprise when you come across this. The G7 summit at Carbis Bay made Cornwall a lively place for all country sports in the last week.
We are stalking in an area where there potentially might be a bit of friction, not because of antis, well there might be antis, but there are 6,500 police officers encamped on one of the fields. Well, not encamped, but it's their food hall. Yeah, they'll probably be the best part of 2,000 coppers sat there having their supper when we're stalking around. And they all have much bigger rifles, so yeah, exciting. But no, it shouldn't be an issue because obviously we're not allowed to be there. And I'm hoping there's not going to be a deer that close to them, because if there is, then that really would be exciting, because we're going to be not only stalking beside them, but discharging a rifle beside them.
Fear not, gentle viewer, the boys in blue may have had us in their thermal sights, but they didn't confront us. And it is thermal sights that we're concentrating on this evening, because Ollie has a new thermal spotter, the Pulsar Helion 2 XP50 Pro, which he reckons could give him considerable advantage when it comes to finding roebucks. He has seen Dartmoor deerstalker Tom Davies glue his eyes to his thermal spotter from the start of the stalk to the end, and he reckons Tom is getting it right.
Yeah, I've got one up there, which is incredible because I don't think I'll be able to see that through binoculars because of the mist.
The first day of the G7 summit, you may recall, was characterised by a Cornish sea fog, and that's making optics particularly challenging, but not thermal. Ollie spots this animal across a small valley, away from the police field.
It is worth its weight in gold for spotting, but I don't think once you spot it, I think its use is sort of expended. Other people, I mean, obviously then if you wound it, you can blood trace it and things, but I think the key for me is just spotting, because then from then on it's a hunt, and then you know where it was last seen. You can go and then stalk into it using your senses and the rifle and your bushcraft. But if you use it more than that, Tom Davies, then I think it sort of kills part of the bushcraft. Joking aside, obviously, you know, Tom's great, but yeah, no, it's my personal opinion on it.
Is it like it's almost a bit of a cheat in a way?
No, I wouldn't want to possibly call Mr. Davies a cheat, God no. But I think it just, like, for me, like when I go stalking and hunting, I like to really rely on my bushcraft and my stalking skills. So once I've spotted the animal, I think for me the thermal goes away and we go from there.
We will be out foxing with Tom later in this piece, so he can defend himself then. Ollie makes his way towards where he saw that buck. However, stuff is starting to go wrong. He leaves his sticks in the Land Rover and decides not to go back for them. Using the thermal, he spots 2 pheasants where the buck was. Then this happens. The pheasants grow 4 legs each and run off.
Tom Davies would not have mistaken those pheasants for deer like I did. I will happily accept that as gospel truth. They were deer and I thought they were something else, so Tom would not have made that mistake. But then again, you know, his hand is now completely turned into a thermal. So when you literally sleep with it, I suppose it's anyway. He's got a wife now, so I'm sure she's not too happy about him bringing a thermal into the bedroom. But I don't know how that works. But I think he's told me he's gone to bed with it tonight. He wakes up in the middle of the evening having a nightmare just at the ceiling.
Ollie is going out again in a couple of evenings' time. In the meantime, I joined Tom on Dartmoor for fox shooting and more lessons in thermal spotting. Tom has both the Pulsar Accolade 2 thermal binos and earlier this week he got his hands on the Pulsar Thermion 2 rifle scope.
I've had about 2 weeks. It's only been on the rifle this week. I've been out of it twice. I've shot 6 foxes with it. It's absolutely incredible. The quality, the outline of the animals you're shooting at is great.
Well, let's just qualify that. Thermal takes some getting used to, even though the Thermion is better than most. Let's do a quick quiz where you have to see if you can name that animal, filmed through the Thermion. Question 1, and the answer is fox. Question 2, and the answer is cat. Question 3, we're back to fox again. Question 4, filmed on the Accolade, and the answer is badger. Here it is using ordinary night vision. Question 5, one for Ollie, filmed through his Helion. The answer is pheasant. Oh no, gold medal roebuck? No, a Labrador with a pheasant in the background. Back to the fox shooting, and Tom starts his evening on a hillside with a view of about 1,000 acres of Devon.
The thing now, you think, oh, it's going to start getting dark in a minute, and then the light just continues for ages and ages like this. It's great. I love this time of year. It didn't get dark till gone 10 last night. It's lovely.
There's a red hind browsing in front of us. A roe doe comes out to feed. Then the Accolade picks up a fox about 1 kilometre away, mousing along a line of gorse and marking its territory.
And I'm spotting it probably, I guess I'd say that's 1,000 metres, 1,000 yards roughly, something like that. It's gone behind the bank. And I haven't zoomed in on that, that's just gone from pure movement. That's one thing with the thermals. If you use one as much as I do, you get used to like one of the main identification things is actually the movement of that, how that animal's moving before anything else.
Is that a criticism of Ollie?
He'll get there. I'm happy to give some lessons free of charge. But
That fox is not heading towards us, but this other fox is. Once it goes into cover, Tom has trouble picking it up. He thinks he can see it with the thermal.
Well, I'm not sure. I left my binos in the truck, so I've got something on the thermal in the cover. We have just seen a fox come down the valley here, and it's kind of where it was heading. So I'm wondering whether it's it. We'll just hope wind's good, so we'll hope it comes out into the open, and I'll be able to see then.
While we're on binos, and as that sea fog mingled with darkness to make light gathering difficult, I give Ollie a cheap pair of iSki Hyperion ED 10x42 binos, priced at under £250 to try out alongside his Zeiss Terra ED 10x42s, which he bought for more than £400.
Christ, I don't want to say this. I don't want to lose any chance of ever getting sponsored by Zeiss, because these are not actually that bad. These are quite good. For a fraction of the price, I should imagine. To be honest with you, I know they've been out and about all evening with me, and it might be partially, but these are clearer. But I think that's partly due to the fact that these have been out in pea soup all evening.
There is a thing in thermal spotting circles now where people are saying, sure, expensive optics are lovely, but you may not need super duper binoculars when thermal is doing all the legwork of spotting the animal. Still, it helps if you have binos at all. Tom walks slowly to a point where he reckons he can intercept his fox. It is the animal he saw. It crosses a field and then stops and chews at a lamb's leg that it finds.
I was unsure what way it was facing, that's why I didn't take the shot for so long. I couldn't tell. Was it facing towards us? It was. I thought it was.
So where did you put the bullet?
Like here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It guessed little vixen. Yeah. Little Baron vixen.
With light dimming, it's time for me to switch to night vision. Tom is still using his thermal combo. Now, some of you may have spotted the obvious error in Tom's setup, so he explains it.
So I've got an IR on top of a thermal scope, and the reason being it's because we're hoping to get some good footage tonight. We're hoping to zero the IR to the PIA, which is point of impact of the thermal scope, so when I'm shooting I can record through this, but I can also switch this on and Charlie can record. That's the plan anyway.
The foxes come out after 11 PM, and that's when Tom starts to get busy.
We come in, actually the wind was wrong, so we looped all the way around, and we come in top side of them, and I was looking down on her, this vixen. See, she's had cubs, and that's why it's shot on the back there. So I was aiming down on it. But yeah, she's had cubs. Yeah, they're well off from suckling now. She's really dried up and even got fur coming back now, so those cubs are a good size, so we'll try and find them as well, hopefully, somewhere. And yeah, took one on the right here, sat nice after a little squeak, sat and looked at us, and I took the shot. I mean, the noise does help that, especially, you know, we drove up a fair bit across the ground there, and doing that, you know, they're used to that noise all the time, so that does really help. I was on rainbow colouring, and colours are bright. I couldn't see the top left corner to show if it was recording or not, so I couldn't tell. So I was kind of like trying to move the rifle to get better lighting to be able to see the top left corner, but it was really bright yellow and I just couldn't see the symbols. We literally come in the field to pick up the first fox I shot, and the second fox I'm running across the field, and it stopped and sat there. So by the time I ran back to the truck and got the rifle, it still sat there, and I think about 230 metres it sat, so yeah, I managed to get a shot.
We end the evening on 6 foxes. The farmers will be pleased. Now it's time to fast forward to Cornwall the following evening, and this time, no mistakes. Ollie is a man with a mission. Just to help him, I give him this for species identification.
So that's a pheasant.
Yeah, that's a pheasant, yeah.
Yeah,
The rest of this is a deer, but that's what I saw.
Yeah, that bit's a pheasant, is it? Right, good. So I thought you could use that probably.
Actually, that's very kind of you. I'm going to take it and throw it straight in the bin.
We go straight back to the pheasant field. It's out for the pulsar. Ollie is beginning to depend on it, and this is what he sees. We wait until the doe clears the area.
I wasn't quite sure. I had to wait a little bit till he cleared a little gap in the fence that I could shoot through. We're not very far away at all. We're only about 60, 70, maybe 80 at the tops. So I looked down with the naked eye, saw nothing, then got the thermal out, had a glass, and there are 2 heat exchangers there. And when they're in the dense grass like that, they don't look like big signatures. The only reason I will have a look at these this time, and sure enough, then I saw the red rump. And buying these thermals, they're obviously very expensive, but you do have to learn to use them. You can't just expect to be Mr. Davis first time out. Who is?
Are you praising?
I am. I will happily give him praise. He is, even though he's like his third arm, he is very good with it. He's a professional.
We head to the downed deer, and Ollie has another challenge for the thermal.
See who can find it first, a 6-month-old Labrador. I sort of know where it is, so I don't really want to cheat, but I'm going to actually look for it through this thermal. If I find it before she does, so we'll give it a go. Get back! Get back! There she is. Get back! Hey Lars! Get back! Have you got it? Good girl, she's got it. He's a good dog. He's a good dog. He's a good dog.
There, you should always get a lab test. Ollie gives his assessment of the animal he has shot.
His dad, I can almost guarantee it by the way it's purling as well. His dad lives up there in that wood there, so we're whilst I'm sure he's proud of his sons, he wouldn't take too kindly to them trying to shag all his girlfriends.
On the way home, Ollie spots a doe up against a far hedge. This is what she looks like in his thermal.
It's worth sort of waiting around when it's a single doe, because there often is a buck in tow, because they're quite close to rutting. not immediately close, but this is when they're starting to sort of get an idea of who they fancy and things. But we waited for no buck, and then I thought I saw a little bit of movement on the thermal around her ankles. But we all know my thermal skills aren't very good, so she kept on looking behind her and looking around, hence why we thought there was a buck with her, but it may well have been a kid. So we stalked up, had a little closer look, but couldn't see any visible signs of either. So perhaps she's just very, very heavily pregnant, in which case she wouldn't really be giving off any smells for the bucks at this point. It's only when they drop their kids do they start to go back on heat.
In some ways, thermal creates more problems than it solves. Stalking is not the simple process it used to be.
You just need to trick yourself into seeing things that aren't necessarily there, or are there in my case a lot of the time. But yeah, you're right, you see far more, so far more information sort of comes into your stalking than previously where, oh, there's one, concentrate on that and not then scan around and see 6 others in the field. Or I wouldn't even say focuses the mind, because it actually does the opposite. I think it actually gives you too much to worry about sometimes, and but you know, there are certainly worse problems to have, I think. So yeah.
A successful stalk, a successful night's foxing. We weren't arrested, and we learnt a lot about how to use thermal to help you develop your fieldcraft. You can find both Ollie's company, Cornish Sporting Agency, and Tom's company, Dartmoor Deer Services, on Instagram and on Facebook. And for Pulsar's range of products in the UK, visit thomasjacks.co.uk. Thanks, Ollie and Tom, for that piece. Now, another Father's Day idea, pushing you unwillingly into a world of blatant commercialism. Last week, the Fieldsports Channel shop took delivery of 25 Vario Novo in-ear plugs. These are the Novo Natural, which gives you normal hearing except when a gunshot goes off, and the Novo Enhanced gives you enhanced hearing. They are for sale at £199 plus postage. We sold 15 of them. There are still 10 left to sell. Add the magic word Vario Novo 1, all lowercase, and you get 10% off. And if you were a Fieldsports Nation supporter, you'd be getting a different magic code and 25% off, a saving of 50 quid. There's a link to both models in the description below. Next, from oral protection to visual stimulation, it's Hunting YouTube. This is Hunting YouTube, which aims to show the best hunting and shooting videos that YouTube has to offer. Simon 6 PPC has put up a lamb protection series, and this is part 3 with the 223 rifle. He's after crows and magpies. Our own Johnny Muston of R&K Stockcraft unboxes the new Brocock Ranger air rifle in this film made by David for Daystate's channel. Now, David and I have done this bear hunting with hounds. There's a moment where the hounds on the back of the truck start speaking, and it's electrifying. In this film by the Untamed channel, they get 3 bears in a day. Shots and Pots transports you back to winter-driven hunts with this film showing roe, fallow and wild boar in Sweden. Staying on driven hunting, and Safari Channel is out with a team of Danish hunters on a Bulgarian-driven day. It's heavy going on the commentary and the music, but the filming is good. Clock Boys Hunting NZ are happy to be back after red stags in the Raw on South Island. COVID closed down the Raw in 2020, so they reckon that gives them a good chance of a big animal. It's an exciting 40-minute watch. The African Safari Films team is after kudu in this video, which is short and sharp, but tells the story. And finally, it's not hunting, but we have a new entry to TV news in the GP called GB News. I hope it's going to take an even-handed view of field sports, and it has this YouTube channel so you can check it out. That's it for this week. I've put all these films into a playlist for you. Click on the I symbol top right, or check this film's description. If you have a YouTube film you would like us to pop into the weekly top 8, email me the link, charlie@fieldsportschannel.tv. Well, that's it for this week. If you haven't done so, please whiz over to our website, fieldsportschannel.tv. You can click like us there on Facebook and on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, pop your email address into our register page, and we'll contact you about this show. Field Sports Britain is at 7 PM UK time every Wednesday. And this has been Field Sports Britain. Good hunting, good shooting, good fishing, and goodbye. By the new BBC Direct yeah.